Ren Seeks Help is an episode of Ren and Stimpy, adult party cartoon. It follows Ren finally feeling guilty about something abusive that he did to Stimpy. So, he seeks to a therapist to help him and tells his darkest childhood stories as to why he became such an abusive psychopath in the first place. Now, the plot is fairly simple. After committing a horrible act towards Stimpy, Ren realizes how cruel he can be, and decides to get psychiatric help to do something about it. Now, why this sucks, number one, as opposed to the original Ren and Stimpy series, this episode has a cold, alien-like vibe to it all, and feels more like a Ren and Stimpy horror creepypasta than an actual Ren and Stimpy episode, or some fictional lost episode that isn't really meant to exist, like Dead Bart or Squidward's Suicide. Yet, this episode in particular is treated as a comedy, when it is all a horror show with torture and drama. Number two, it's a misleading title. Ren does not get the help. Number three, Ren is extremely unlikable here, as he mentions how he enjoyed tormenting bugs when he was little, and also kills Mr. Horse after he is called crazy. Number four, Stimpy's crying is ear-piercing, although we do feel bad for him after Ren argued with him. Number five, it's a very ugly title card with Ren making a disturbing face. Number six, it not only destroyed Ren's character, it butchered it beyond belief without even a reason. Number seven, it is more or less a morbid ripoff of the episode Ren Needs Help from the original Ren and Stimpy show, but with more disturbing imagery. Even though that episode was conceived right after John Crickfalusi was fired from the original show. Number eight, although this is subjective, unfunny. The humor just doesn't cut it. Number nine, Ren does not even get punished by his parents. He was going to be punished, but his mother allows Ren to use a chainsaw instead of a gun to end the poor frog. Number 10, the ending is so terrible and hugely disturbing. Why end the episode like a Looney Tunes cartoon for all the stuff everybody saw through? It's so off-putting and insulting to the Looney Tunes cartoons that it just becomes terrifying. Number 11, there are 6 plot holes and animation errors in total. Ren somehow gains demon-like horns on his head while attacking Mr. Horse, almost as if he transformed into a demon. Ren having a 4th toe and a 5th finger on his arm after he goes crazy, even though Ren normally has 3 toes and 4 fingers, and an animal control guy's hand being bitten off of his left arm to his right. While Ren is attacking Mr. Horse by scratching him, he appears to not have his clothes on, but when he's about to get the gun, he has his clothes on. There's the bitten hand, which has 5 fingers. Suddenly it has 4 in the next scene, where Ren digests it. Let's see. A pool of Stimpy's tears appear in the next shot, which shows the floor, like the previous scene, without transition. And, Ren somewhat screeches like a cat while killing Mr. Horse, even though he's a chihuahua. Some redeeming qualities. Number 1, the story itself is not a bad one. It can actually work if it was a horror show, but in a comedy show, it really feels out of place, as stated in the first paragraph. Number 2, the rest of the series shows no continuity of this episode, so I guess we can just pretend that it didn't happen. And number 3, despite its content, the animation is still good, as usual. Now, for the reception, Ren Seeks Help was universally panned by critics, audiences, and longtime Ren and Stimpy fans. It is often considered the worst episode of the series. This episode in particular got the series cancelled before the remaining were on DVD. It currently sits at a 3.3 out of 10 on IMDb, being the lowest rated in the whole series. Phantom Strider considers this the worst cartoon episode and the worst cartoon of all time. Well-known cartoon devotee Tad Komorowski was more favorable on the episode, giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars on his Sick Little Monkeys, the unauthorized Ren and Stimpy book, and calling it a grim classic. And besides that, well, it was largely hated. There was a bit of trivia, though. This episode was originally written in 1991 for the original show's second season, when the first season of the original Nickelodeon's Ren and Stimpy series finished production and started airing until 92, according to Crickfalusi. However, Nickelodeon declined the idea, as of it being too intense. So 11 years later, the idea was sent over to Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon. Despite Richard Purcell still loving this episode, he hates the parts of Mr. Frog being suicidal, tortured, and brutally abused by Ren. Ren's father was inspired in the combination of John Crickfalusi's own father, Mike Crickfalusi, and his Unitarian minister grandfather. The Mr. Horse's line from the ending of the episode, "Are you nuts? I'm a horse," has more or less became an internet meme.